Okay, let's tell a story. Hello everyone and welcome to a new Cosplay Storytime video. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my security guard stories because when you cosplay, chances are you will run into security guards in some capacity, and sometimes things will go well, sometimes things will not go well, and I'm going to be telling stories about times that things have gone very well and times that things that have, I can't speak, times that things have gone not super well. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. This is part 2, like I said, so if you haven't seen part 1, I'll have it linked up in the eye as well as in the description for you to check out. And yeah, this is gonna be a long one because I have a lot of security guard stories, so we'll see how long this video ends up being. But anyway, let's get into it. So the first story that I have to tell is one that I had forgotten about until I checked my notes. I have little notes about what cosplay story times I have to tell. And this is probably one of my all-time favorite security guard stories ever because this security guard was super, super cool. Oh my goodness, what a cool guy he was. So this happened back in 2014, I believe. I'll put the actual year here because I suck at remembering what years which stories took place. This was during Northwest Fan Fest, which is a long dead convention, unfortunately. It sucks because it was a very fun convention. And this convention took place at UBC, University of British Columbia, in Vancouver during the summer. One of the cosplays that I brought was my Pepper cosplay from Iron Man, the Iron Man comics, not the cinematic version, because like I've said in the past, we do not talk about the cinematic version in this house. I could do a whole rant video about how her comic book version is way better than her cinematic version, but that's not what this video is going to be. So just for emphasis, it's the comic book version, not the cinematic version. So I was cosplaying Pepper, and not a whole lot of people recognize that cosplay. A lot of people think that I'm like Femme Iron Man. A lot of people think that I'm Black Widow. A lot of people think that I'm pretty much anybody aside from Pepper, which sucks because that means that not a lot of people have read the comics, or at least that arc of the comics where she has her own arc reactor and her own suit and everything. Like, not a lot of people, I guess, have read that, which sucks because it's a really good arc in the comics, and I love it a lot. And I paid so much money because it's out of print now. I paid so much money for it to have both volumes of that arc. I just have a lot of feelings about Iron Man and Pepper, and just a lot to say. But that's not what this video is, so I gotta stay on track. So basically, I'm cosplaying Pepper from the comics, and I'm teaming up with this photographer named Geoectomy, and we are walking around the campus because this takes place on a university campus. We're walking around trying to find places to shoot this cosplay, and we eventually come across, whoa, my microphone just fell. Oops. We eventually come across this like red, beautiful sports car. Like, it is stunning. And obviously my little rescue glove, because her in the comics her suit is called Rescue, which obviously I guess if you've seen the movies you probably know that at this point, but in the movies it is not red. In the comics her rescue suit is a red and silver color scheme to kind of go against the red and gold of Iron Man. It's supposed to like kind of matchy-matchy, right? They did not do that in the movies. They went in a completely different direction, but basically for context, it's a red glove. It's a red little like rescue Iron Man looking glove that I have. I'll just put a picture. This is what I have. So obviously we're thinking that matches the car. And so we want to shoot against this beautiful sports car. The thing is that there is a security guard in this car, right? So we can't just go up and start shooting against this car. We have to ask first. But I feel really awkward because I'm in full cosplay and I'm thinking like, he's not really going to understand what's happening. It's going to be really awkward to ask. Like, this is just not going to happen. And also I'm super shy. So like I'm shy and awkward. I'm not gonna ask this guy to shoot against his car while I'm in full cosplay. Like, that's just not gonna happen. But my photographer, on the other hand, is like, oh no, I will totally ask this guy to shoot against this car. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so embarrassing. Cause like, again, I'm in full cosplay and I feel kind of awkward in my Pepper cosplay a lot of the time. Don't ask me why, I just do. So I'm like, not excited about it. So my photographer goes and asks, and I'm paraphrasing because I wasn't actually there when he was asking. I was like far away because I was like feeling really awkward in the corner, like, we're doing this. But he comes back and he's like, oh yeah, no, the guy's totally cool with you taking photos. He's actually a big fan. Apparently my photographer said like, hey, can I shoot Pepper against your car? And the guy was like, Pepper isn't from Iron Man? And he's like, yeah. And the guy was like, oh, that's so cool. And he was like a fanboy. This security guard was a fanboy and was totally happy with us shooting against this car. So we take some photos against the car. They look beautiful. They're very sleek. They're very love it. And eventually the security guard actually comes out of the car and starts watching, and he's like watching me like point my glove at the camera, right? And he's like, ooh, cool Stark technology. And I'm like, yeah, you know what's up. And this guy had like the biggest grin on his face. Like he was obviously a very happy, excited fanboy watching us shoot against this car. And my heart is just so warmed by that story. I just love it so much. So shout out to that security guard for being like the coolest dude ever. Bless. We love it. The next story has to do with another cool security guard that we encountered. So many years ago, in this year, because again, I suck at remembering years, my dad, a friend, and I went and shot my Miku cosplay around these office buildings. This was like the location that I wanted to shoot my Miku cosplay because it was the same location that I shot my Rin cosplay, which was my first ever photo shoot. My first ever photo shoot was when my mom, my dad, and I went to these like office buildings in my hometown and took photos. And so I wanted to go to the same office buildings and take photos of my Miku cosplay. Nothing ever happened when we shot my Rin, so we didn't really think anything of it, going back to this complex, this like office complex, to shoot photos of Miku. So we show up there and we're taking photos. We have a big reflector, right? So it's quite the sight to see, right? There's a guy with a camera, there's a girl with blue hair, there's somebody holding a big ass reflector, and obviously we were quite a spectacle. So eventually this man comes along in like a suit, and he starts asking us what we're doing, and he's like, yeah, what is this? What's happening? And my dad, I'm kind of caught off guard because I don't really know, like, because I'm feeling awkward because like I'm the one in cosplay, right? My dad immediately explains to this guy what's going on. He's like, oh, this is cosplay, you know, they dress up as fictional characters, they compete, like this is what they do. And the guy's like, oh, that's really cool because we were watching you from that office building, right? Some people, some employees saw you and were like, what's going on? And I saw that you had a microphone, because like Miku obviously wears a microphone. He's like, you know, she's wearing a microphone, so she must be important. And then I decided to come on down and see what you guys were doing. And he was super chill. He let us teach him about cosplay, and it was all really good. And then he left. And later on, we were like talking about it, and my dad was like, oh yeah, like the security guard. And I'm like, oh, was that guy a security guard? And he's like, yeah, that guy was a security guard. Like, he did not look like a security guard because he was wearing like a suit and he had like things on his suit. I don't know how to describe. It's been so long, I can't really remember. But he had like, I guess, badges on his suit, which gave away the fact that he was a security guard, but I at the time did not like clock him as a security guard because he didn't look like a traditional security guard. So basically, we're talking about it after, and my dad was like, yeah, I thought we were gonna get kicked out because this guy is a security guard and he's asking us what we're doing here, and luckily he did not kick us out. He was actually very chill and wanted to learn about cosplay and was very nice. So that's the time that we could have gotten kicked out of these office buildings, but we did not. My final story is the time that we did get kicked out of a place for shooting. So I was cosplaying with my boyfriend at the time, and I wasn't cosplaying. hold on. For this particular story, I was not actually the one in cosplay. It was my boyfriend at the time, and he was cosplaying Kaito from Vocaloid. A lot of these stories seem to have to do with Vocaloid. Security guards just love Vocaloid, I guess. It's official. So we are walking around downtown in my hometown, and we are taking photos at various different locations, and we eventually get to this spot. So basically this location, there's like a plaza, and then there's an upstairs part to this plaza where a bunch of office buildings are housed. So you have the plaza downstairs, and it's all outside. You have the plaza downstairs, and then you walk up these stairs, and then there's office buildings. So we decided to take photos up where the office buildings were. And this is a place that I had taken photos before with a friend, and everything was totally fine. Like, we had somebody actually who was working there walk past us and was like, oh, that's really cool, like what you guys are doing. Sorry if I get in your photos. And we're like, oh, that's totally fine, right? So like people who had worked there had seen us shooting and didn't say anything. And so we thought this is a totally fine place to shoot. So I decided to take my boyfriend to that same area to take photos of his Kaito cosplay. So we get there and we shoot for like a few minutes. And then eventually we hear somebody yell at us. And we look over the railing to like the first floor, and we see in the plaza, looking up at us, is this very angry security guard. And we're like looking at him because we think he's gonna repeat himself, because we didn't hear what he actually said. He just kind of was like yelling stuff at us, and we didn't hear him. So we're like looking at him expectantly, like expecting him to repeat himself, because we're not sure, like, are we in trouble? Like, probably, because he's yelling at us. Is he wondering what we're doing? Like, what's the situation? And eventually, like, there's this awkward moment where we're just staring at him and he's staring at us, and we're just like making eye contact, super awkward. And he was looking super angry. And he eventually just like goes, like, he just shakes his head at us really aggressively. And we're like, okay, I guess that means that we're not supposed to be up here, but like, use your words, sir. So we're like, okay, all right. So we leave, and it's awkward because like getting kicked out of somewhere while you're in cosplay is very awkward. So I'm sure like my BF was like feeling very awkward about it. I always feel really awkward whenever I'm in the wrong. So I felt very embarrassed, the fact that like I was just shooting these photos in this place that we weren't supposed to be, apparently. There were no signs at the time that said that you weren't allowed to be up there. Since then, they have put signs there saying that you're not allowed to go upstairs unless you're like authorized to go upstairs. So unless you work in one of those office buildings, you are not allowed to be up there. We did not know that at the time. We did not see those signs. It was just a whole sort of awkward experience, and wasn't something that I'd ever want to repeat. So when you're taking photos, please be careful that you are actually taking photos in places that you are authorized to take photos, so that you don't have an awkward experience like that. Anyway, those are my cosplay stories for today, my stories about run-ins with security, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that this taught you something new. Just please be careful when you're taking photos so that you don't get kicked out, because it is like 50 shades of awkward getting kicked out for taking cosplay photos. Like, just take my word for it, it's not a fun time. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you have experiences of your own interacting with security, please by all means share them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this fun, chill story time. If you are new here and you'd like to see more, I put out new videos every Sunday, and it'd be awesome to have you here, so feel free to subscribe. And yeah, anyway, thanks as always for your support, and thanks as always for watching and everything. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys all next time. But until then, Panda Faces, please be sure to take care. Bye!